Hey, it's Jarret from fakeshemp.net, and this is the March collection update. Let's get started. First up, I've got Toxic Avenger Part 2, which is the 88 Films release. This is an exclusive to HMV in the UK. Has alternate artwork, as you can see, in a fold-out poster. It's actually got a slipcase, and then behind the slipcase, you've got the actual uncensored art, very similar to how they did the Bloodsucking Freaks slipcase and art underneath. And as you may recall, I did pick up the standard retail release of Toxic Avenger Part 2 from 88 Films, but yeah, this one with the exclusive art's awesome, so I'm going to hold on to this. On the reverse side of the slick is the original theatrical art, and yeah, thankfully 88 Films were shipping this to international customers through their web store, and it was about £8.99, so that was super cheap, and they were offering free shipping to international customers a couple weekends ago, so yeah, definitely worth the upgrade. Next one up is Hal Hartley's Simple Men. This is from a UK label called Artificial Eye that are putting out, have put out several of Hal Hartley's films. Simple Men's up there with Hal Hartley's best films, and I haven't had an opportunity to look at this one yet to comment on the transfer quality or anything of that nature. But yeah, great film, and I picked it up for about $17 Australian shipped from the UK, quite cheap. And that was through eBay. Next one up is another from the Artificial Hal Hartley range, and it's Amateur, which is again up there with Hal Hartley's best. I think Simple Men, Amateur, and Trust are his best films. Again, I haven't had an opportunity to look at this one, but I picked it up for about, I think it was about £8 from Zavvi, and you can ship as many items as you want from Zavvi. Well, I know that I've shipped up to probably about 6 or 8 items, and it only costs you one shipping fee of 99 pence, and they ship all the items individually anyway. Amateur. Then lastly, The Unbelievable Truth, again from Artificial Eye. This is Hal Hartley's first film. Definitely not one of my favourites, but an important film, and really, it was an introduction to Hal Hartley. But I think it's a great film, and obviously his first collaboration, or feature collaboration with Adriana Shelley, which she is in Trust with Martin Donovan. But yeah, Unbelievable Truth, a cool film, and I have watched this. The transfer is fantastic. It's an original aspect, theatrical aspect ratio, and there is a anniversary featurette on the film there too, which is kind of cut from a lot of vintage interviews, obviously with Adrian Shelley, because she passed several years ago with a rather horrible crime. But moving on, we've got Cocoon, the Ron Howard film from 1985. This is, I'm thinking this must be a Zavvi exclusive, this steelbook release. Now, despite them not listing any special features on the back, this is in fact the 25th anniversary edition that's been released in the US and the UK. But yeah, the steelbook's nice. It really utilises the original theatrical artwork from the film. The inside looks pretty cool. On the back, you got the silhouette of Steve Guttenberg. Yeah, I love Cocoon. Great film. Had been meaning to pick it up, and now the Blu-ray, well, sorry, not the Blu-ray, the steelbook is becoming a little bit more scarce. I thought, yeah, I'll pay the £9 or £10 and get it while I can. Next up is A Blind Buy, Remo Williams from 88 Films. This is Fred Ward in an action film. This film seems to have a fair few fans. I've never seen it, but I've heard really good things about it, and it seemingly was one of the most anticipated Arrow Films releases. Remo Williams, looking forward to checking out. Next up, another 88 Films release. Now, I might mention the last one I picked up for about, I think it was about £5 or £6 through Zavvi. Likewise with Deranged, this is an upgrade from DVD for me. I had the local Cinema Cult DVD, now I've got the Arrow Blu-ray, and I believe Kino Lorbo in the US are releasing a special edition themselves in July, August. But yeah, Deranged, some spectacular special effects from Mr. Tom Savini. Next up are a bunch of titles I picked up through Amazon. First up is the 2012 documentary Adjuster Tracking. I believe this was partially Kickstarter funded. Been meaning to see it for quite some time. I did see another one that came in around the same time, played Melbourne International Film Festival. I think it was called Please Rewind, maybe from memory. And that was quite good, although the focus of that documentary was a little bit too broad. This one definitely sort of has a sort of centralised concentration on VHS collectors. But yeah, it's actually funny. It's really enjoyable. It was one of those kind of docos that I wasn't sure if I was going to watch more than once, but I enjoyed it that much. I definitely will revisit it, and there's about 7 hours worth of special features, so I'm looking forward to checking out those as well. Next up from Amazon, The Unseen, film I saw a bunch of times as a kid, seemingly enjoyed it, revisited as an adult. Didn't enjoy it so much. It just was a little bit drawn out, and then by the time it actually got to the action in the last 15 to 20 minutes, It just was a little bit too little too late, to be honest. The Unseen, I'm definitely going to get rid of that one. Next up, another one that I enjoyed as a kid that I love infinitely more as an adult, and that's Night Train to Terror. This is just ridiculous. It's essentially 3 feature films that have been shorn down into short films and put into this horror anthology with a wraparound story, and it is a lot of fun. The Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray DVD release of this is quite good too, because on the DVD it has the full feature for the second story, which was in the context of Night Train to Terror. It was called In the Case of Greta, and the film itself is called Greta. I'm looking forward to checking out the feature film, although I hear it stinks. But Night Train to Terror, terrible but amazing, and I'm going to do a little bit more talking about that on an upcoming podcast. Criterion Collection edition of Wes Anderson's Life Aquatic. I'm sure everybody already knows about this. I'd just been waiting for a good price on it, and it dropped below US 20, so that was a good enough price for me to pick it up, add to the collection. Next up, Hal Hartley's Flirt. Slowly upgrading all my Hal Hartley films from DVD to Blu-ray. This was on sale. This is the Olive film release in the US. Essentially, it is 3 stories that I think are happening concurrently, and they're essentially the same story, but it's happening 3 different places across the world. It was the first Hal Hartley film I saw on the big screen. Not the first film I saw of Hal Hartley's, but the first one I saw on the big screen. It was pretty cool, and that was at the Dendy Cinema in George Street in Brisbane back in the day, in the mid-90s. I think 95 from memory, or 96. Next up, New Year's Evil. I'm not going to talk about this one, except that it's awesome. It is a total guilty pleasure. I've done a review for it on fakeshep.net, so you totally check that out. If not, you could listen to the podcast from January, because it pops up there as my guilty pleasure, and we talk about it a little bit more at length. But New Year's Evil. Next one up, Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh. This is the first sequel to the Candyman films. There was a third film that came out, which is the second sequel, which is called Candyman, I think Day of the Dead, from memory. I hope that they release a special edition of Candyman on Blu-ray. I mean, they did release a special edition of Candyman on DVD in the US, in the UK, and even in Australia. But the Blu-ray that was released in Australia and the UK and probably other European territories didn't actually have any of those special edition features on it, which is a shame. But yeah, Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh, pretty cool sequel from memory. This was a blind buy, but this one was on recommendation from Glenn and from Justine. It's Jeff Burr, who directed From Whisper to a Scream's Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings, plus he directed a bunch of other stuff, including some of the Puppet Master sequels, I think 4 and 5. Yeah, haven't seen it. I'm really eager to watch it. I know that I've read and I've heard, I think I actually heard in a documentary, I think Greg Nicotero and KNB did the special effects for this film. And I think they mention that at one point you can see like the Pumpkinhead character, the creature creation's feet, and it's actually a pair of tennis shoes. That might not actually be in this version, because this could be the theatrical ratio that crops that out, but I'm not 100%. Now, I'm pretty sure that was the Australian video art there on the inside. That's on the flip, on the reverse side. But yeah, Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings, looking forward to watching that. Okay, so the next bunch of titles are ones that I picked up through JB Hi-Fi at a recent 20% off sale. First up, we've got Night at the Museum 1 and 2. Saw the third one at the movies recently. You know, I like Ben Stiller, so I've been meaning to add this to the collection, and it was a good price, so why not? Unfortunately, the Blu-ray does not port over all the special features from the DVD. It's that kind of movie that I probably would never watch the special features for anyway. But yeah, just a bit of a bummer that the material exists, so why not put it on the Blu-ray? Anyway, Night at the Museum 1 and 2. Next up, Hills of Eyes 1 and 2, upgrade from DVD to Blu-ray for me. The first Hills of Eyes, the remake of Hills of Eyes by Alexander Aja is terrific. The sequel was rubbish, but I kind of had to have it just to be a completist. Anyway, Hills of Eyes 1 and 2 Blu-ray double pack, and I'm pretty sure... No, actually, I think the Blu-ray here doesn't have all the special features the DVD does of the first film, but the second one appears to have more special features than the DVD did. Anyway, next one up, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. You know, some people like it, some people hate it. I enjoy it. It's, the JB exclusive 2-disc edition, which has some extra featurettes that aren't on the standard retail release. Anyway, Hunger Games. Right, next one up is Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles 40th Anniversary Edition. This has a rather nice little slipcase there, and inside you've got a little wallet here, a little pouch that has a bunch of lobby cards, essentially, with quotes from the film, which is pretty cool. I didn't actually know that it would come with this little pouch of photos, which is kind of cool and gimmicky. But yeah, I just bought it because I don't own Blazing Saddles on DVD, and I didn't have the previous Blu-ray, and this is a new transfer. It's got a new featurette. So yeah, Blazing Saddles 40th Anniversary. Next up is Vampire in Brooklyn. I remember when this came out in the mid-90s, I really wanted to see it at the movies. Somehow didn't, and then I saw it as soon as it came out on video, and it was just bitterly disappointing. Eddie Murphy had been on a seemingly endless downward cycle of um, just shitty kind of movies, films that you thought were going to be comedies that studios probably marketed as comedies, but he had no intention of being funny in. And Wes Craven, I think at this time, obviously it was only probably maybe a year or two out from his comeback with Scream, but he'd been sort of, I can't remember the film that immediately preceded this one. For the life of me, I can't remember. I know that People Under Stairs would have been a good maybe 3 years prior to this. Anyway, Eddie Murphy's Vampire in Brooklyn. I think Charlie Murphy actually was one of the co-screenwriters of the film. Anyway, I'm looking forward to revisiting it, and it cost me like $3, so I can't complain. Next one up is a documentary on Italian crime films, police films and whatnot, called Eurocrime, the Italian cop and gangster films that ruled the 70s. I'm really looking forward to you watching this one. Anyway, next one up is one that a lot of people have been talking about, and it was one of the more revered films from last year's Monster Fest, and Glenn was a massive fan of it. There's Something in the Pilliga. I'm looking forward to checking this one out. In fact, there's a quote from Glenn on the front here that says, "Startling imagery with no holes barred intensity, terrifying." So they're pretty cool. Glenn at Fake Shem. And then next one up is, I think this was Glenn's favourite Australian film of last year, I should say, Throwback, which is another kind of Yeti Yowie type film. Again, I haven't seen this one, picked it up, really looking forward to watching it. There's quite a few extras on this one too. Throwback should be cool. Okay, so the next few titles are 3 titles I picked up through Diabolic DVD. They're all Code Red titles. And it's pretty hard to get hold of Code Red titles for at least international buyers. I know that the chap that runs the site's constantly sort of up and down, and I don't know how he runs the business, and he's just a strange cat, but he doesn't sell to international customers anymore, partly because of licensing agreements, and secondly because he just had too many postage claims against him. So he just doesn't deal with international customers. So you have to get him through Diabolic DVD, which is unusual considering it's the only way you get a hold of the Australian film Lady Stay Dead that has never been released on home end in terms of DVD or Blu-ray anywhere in the world, let alone Australia, until Code Red have released it. This is a film that I've been meaning to see since I was a kid. I just never picked. I saw the cover at the video store and never really thought that it was something that would interest me. It had a pretty boring cover. It was somewhat similar to the disc art here, except from memory it was actually a real image. But then, of course, I read more and more about it over time, and then, it pops up in Not Quite Hollywood, and, it's impossible to get hold of. So, picked this Blu-ray up and watched it, and, I thought it was pretty shit, to be honest, and I'm definitely going to get part with this one pretty soon. I was extremely underwhelmed. It was somewhat boring, hugely misogynistic, but that's not a definite turn off for me. It just was uncomfortable to watch, and it was honestly quite boring. And then the finale itself was so drawn out and long-winded. It was a little reminiscent of Lethal Weapon, just seemingly endless, like the finale. I just didn't really do much for me, to be honest. So I'll definitely be parting with this one. Lady Stay Dead. Next one is a DVD upgrade. We'll upgrade to Blu-ray, and that's Nightmare Uncut, also known as Nightmares in a Damaged Brain. This was one of the video nasties of the 80s in the UK, and this one is one of the few films that actually lives up to that title. It is somewhat a nasty film. Again, probably slightly a little bit misogynistic, but this is a great film. It's a solid watch, and it's a true exploitation film in every meaning of the word. But Nightmare, really happy to upgrade that to Blu-ray. Next up is another Code Red title, Messiah of Evil. This is a very this movie I didn't see until the Code Red DVD came out. And after I saw it, I was like, whoa, I can't believe I'd never seen this film. It is eerie. It has a genuine, unsettling, sinister, and just creepy atmosphere to it. It is something else. It's very strange. It's a cool film, so really happy to upgrade it to Blu-ray, and it's really well shot. The DVD release, the print wasn't in amazing condition. I'm hoping the Blu-ray print's a bit better, but yeah, the compositions and just the style of the film was just, yeah, it was just unusual, very unsettling. Sorry, Evil. Okay, next bunch of titles here, or all titles. No, I'm going to do these ones over here first. So first up here is Spontaneous Combustion, Toby Hooper film from the late 80s. I picked this up at Utopia Records in Sydney for about $5, which was good. I believe it's out of print with Umbrella, and it's one of those kind of films I've been looking forward to revisiting. I did watch about half of it the weekend before last, and I have not watched the other half yet. I will get there, but I was just a little bit, just a bit underwhelmed. Spontaneous Combustion. This one is Ghost from the Machine, which is a title that Glenn had as his obscure pick on, I think, one of our last podcasts. I think it was probably about March 3rd, March 4th. Also known as Phasma Ex Machina. And it's just such an intriguing premise. I guess it's a supernatural thriller slash science fiction. It's really clever and it's a solid watch. And yeah, I was fortunate enough that he bought me a copy. That's definitely going in the collection. I was quite stoked on that. And the writer-director, has got a new film that's coming out in the States in April. So I'm quite eager to check that out. It's got a huge cast in it. Well, actually like a name cast. But yeah, Ghost from the Machine, pretty cool. Next one is My Life's in Turnaround, which is the debut film from Eric Schaefer, who went on to direct other films like If Lucy Fell, Falling. That's about all I can remember. I think he was a definite talent in that mid-90s. He sort of came out of the same era as Kevin Smith and similar other filmmakers, Richard Linklater. And this is essentially about two slackers slash theatre directors that want to break into the film world to make a feature. It's got some cameos by people like Phoebe Cates. It's a pretty cool film, very hard to get hold of, and I found someone on eBay selling it in Brooklyn. Managed to convince them to sell them to me in Australia because they weren't doing international shipping. I'm really glad to have it. It was definitely worth picking up because I've been after it for a number of years. My Life's in Turnaround. Next one up is another film about filmmaking. It's called Living Oblivion, and it stars Steve Buscemi and Catherine Keener. It's got a few other people in there too. Very clever comedy, and it's even better than I remember it. I saw this film theatrically in the mid-90s at the Chanel in Brisbane, which is on the University of Queensland campus. I think I made my sister go and take me, and then when it came on video, I rented it a heap of times too. Really like it. It's just an off-the-wall and bizarre. Peter Dinklage is actually in it too. And really cool film, and I'm going to go and talk about this a little bit more on an upcoming podcast, so I won't say everything now. Next up is Chillers, which is a compendium horror film, which was one that I'd enjoyed as a kid. I remember renting this one out the same night when I got home from having seen Karate Kid 3 at the movies. Karate Kid 3, and then coming home, we stopped at the video store and I got Chillers out. It had just come out on video. Yeah, this one didn't live up to how I remembered it. It was pretty painful, to be honest, and I definitely won't be holding on to it. It's got some killer art on it, it was hard going. It was predictable. It was bad. It's definitely so bad that it's not good. Chillers. One of De Palma's first films, Greetings. This is one of the 3 films he made with De Niro in the early days, which were, Greetings, Hi Mum, and I think the first De Niro film, which may have been The Wedding Party. I think that was the first film De Niro was in, feature film. De Palma directed it. I haven't watched this yet. I'm really keen to see it. Greetings. Okay, next up we've got a bunch of titles. These titles I picked up through cash converters. So I picked them up for like $2 each in separate visits. But in this particular visit, I picked up The Dish, Aussie classic. I was holding out for a Blu-ray release, and it'll probably happen now that I've bought the DVD. I've willed it to happen, but I really wanted to watch it again. It was only $2, so I couldn't resist. Cool art. I hope if they do release it on DVD, they stick with this DVD / theatrical art. Next up is another one that I've been holding off buying because I figured it would come out on DVD sooner or later, and of course I bought it, and then about 2 weeks later I read in a Blu-ray forum that Criterion are going to release all 3 films before sunrise, before sunset, and before midnight in a triple pack special edition before 2015's out. But that's cool because I picked this up for $2, and I will most certainly pick that up on Blu-ray because this film is fantastic, as are the other 2, but I think this may actually be my favourite of the trilogy, Before Sunrise. Fun with Dick and Jane, comedy with Jim Carrey and Tia Leone. This film that when I first saw it came out 2006, 2007. I was really underwhelmed and disappointed. I'd been a big Jim Carrey fan ever since the beginning, since In Living Colour. And this film just did not deliver for me, but I only ever watched that one time, and that was almost a decade ago, so I figured, well, for $2, I want to revisit it. And look, I did, and I thought it was hilarious. There was bits I was constantly rewinding back to because it was just that funny. I thought it was actually quite good. It's not his best work, but it's far from his worst. Fun with Dick and Jane. Next one up is Brian De Palma's Snake Eyes, which I hadn't seen since... I don't think I'd seen it since DVD back in the early 2000s... No, late 90s, I'd say, yes. In fact, I got a free copy of Snake Eyes with one of the DVD players I bought. I think came with this, While You Were Sleeping, maybe Snow White, and a few other titles, Bug's Life or something. Anyway, I don't know what happened. I got rid of it, and I think this might be from like a similar sort of thing, because I recall they had not for resale where the barcode should have been. Anyway, I picked this up for $2 because, of course, I've been doing the whole, De Palma renaissance and going through all his films. So, yeah, I picked this up for $2, watched it last night with the wife, and I really liked it. I thought it was awesome, and I'll definitely upgrade this to Blu-ray. But reading a little bit about the history of the film, it's interesting to know that there was an alternate ending, which sounds quite spectacular. That was all done by Industrial Light and Magic and was finished, but the test audiences didn't like it, and the studio wanted to recut it. Even though there's scenes in the film and lines that allude to that particular climax that is not in this version. Yeah, interesting. I wonder if we'll ever see that particular version or not. But anyway, Snake Eyes. Okay, next up is a TV series called Harper's Island, which is, I guess they go for about 40 minutes. There's 13 episodes, and so many people are killed off per episode. I don't know. I'm 4 episodes in, and so many people are dead. Yeah, I'd heard really good things about it. I just never got around to it, so picked it up super cheap at a cash converters. And yeah, I thought, yeah, definitely going to watch it. Now that we're 4 episodes in, I'm digging it. Can't wait to watch more of it. Okay, so these last... these all the second spin stuff still to go. But yeah, 30 Rock Season 6, 30 Rock Season 4, 30 Rock Season 3, 30 Rock Season 2, and 30 Rock Season 1. They had a good deal at Cash Converters. It was like 5 TV shows for $15. So I picked up these 5 seasons. Unfortunately, they didn't have seasons 5 or 7, but that's cool. I picked them up elsewhere. So $15, I pretty much got 3/4 of the series on DVD. Do like 30 Rock, so yeah, looking forward to watching it all. I haven't seen from the halfway through season 3, I think. Maybe season 4 upward. Okay, so moving on to the second spins. Wrong Turn 6. This is the recalled version of Wrong Turn 6. It's no longer available. It has the picture of the granny in the background that was removed from latter releases. This is somewhat highly sought after, this particular release of Wrong Turn 6, which sounds wrong. The words highly sought after and Wrong Turn 6 should never be in the same sentence, yet they are. So yeah, Wrong Turn 6, happy to add that to the collection. I still haven't watched Wrong Turn 4 or 5. I will get around to that, and then I will get on to this. Okay, it's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa over here. Hopefully nothing falls. Next one up, another De Palma film, Passion. This is his most recent film from memory. I think this was about 3 years ago. I have seen this before, but yeah, and it's very similar to his early 80s output, a very erotic type horror film. Thriller, erotic type thriller. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I just didn't think it was amazing. But after going through this whole De Palma sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, retrospective, I figured I will give it another watch, and the price was super cheap. Plus, I love this bright red case. So Passion, I don't know where to put that. I'm worried that things are going to fall. Next up, another De Palma film, The Black Dahlia, from the mid-2000s. I'm thinking about 2006, 2007. I can't remember the film that well. I just remember it was really well shot, but I think, again, it's a matter of often the case with De Palma, style over substance. It is a great cast, though. Aaron Eckhart's in there, among others. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to revisiting this. Hasn't been released locally on Blu-ray, so yeah, picked up the US one through Second Spin. Cost me probably about $6 or $7. Next up is, it's sealed, Scream Factory release of Phantom of the Opera with Robert Englund, but the barcode is punched there. No big deal. Looking forward to revisiting this. In fact, I was going to look at it on Netflix before I committed to buying it, but then it turned up on Second Spin, and I think it probably cost me like $10 or $11. So I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll just buy it. If I don't like it, I can get rid of it. Mimic Trilogy Pack. This has the director's cut of Mimic in it, which I've never seen. I've only ever seen the theatrical, which I've never been a huge fan of. I have watched Mimic twice, the theatrical, but I heard the director's cut is somewhat different. It's also got the direct-to-DVD sequels of Mimic 2 and 3. So yeah, looking forward to checking out the director's cut of Mimic. Then Near Dark, this was an upgrade from DVD to Blu-ray for me, and yeah, I kind of avoided it for a while because of the art. I mean, everyone had made this sort of drawn the comparison to Twilight. That's obviously what Lionsgate were looking to do at the time, trying to remarket the film on home end and cash in on that sort of Twilight phenomenon. Odd because it's really obviously not the same demographic, but this is a classic Catherine Bigelow film, and it's an upgrade from the 2-disc Anchor Bay DVD to Blu-ray for me, and this is getting harder to get hold of. This is deleted now, so it's definitely not easy to come by, and I believe it's fetching a little bit of coin on eBay, but yeah, managed to pick up through Second Spin secondhand, so pretty happy about that. Next one up is Todd Solondz's Life During Wartime, I should say. This is the sequel to Happiness, although none of the actors that played the characters in Happiness reprised their roles in Life During Wartime, but that's Todd Solondz's strange way of doing things. Anyone that's seen Palindromes would totally know all about that. But yeah, cool. Really looking forward to revisiting this one. Then there's the Alan Parker classic Angel Heart from the late 80s with Robert De Niro, Mickey Rourke. Lisa Bonet does some rather saucy scenes that Mr. Bill Cosby was not happy about in the 80s, which is funny considering the current state of affairs with Bill Cosby, but we won't touch on that. So yeah, Angel Heart, classic, bloody cracker of a film. If you haven't seen it, you need to see Angel Heart. It's fantastic. And the US release of Angel Heart through Lionsgate has all the special features that the DVD special editions had, whereas the European and Australian release, unfortunately, has zilch nothing. Then we've got the Farrelly Brothers comedy Dumb and Dumber 2, which I thought was great. I mean, it's never going to better Dumb and Dumber, and it's probably never ever going to be as good as Dumb and Dumber. But 20 years later, I think they made a pretty good sequel, Dumb and Dumber 2. The US artwork's a bit shitty with this. The Aussie artwork actually looks quite good. It's coming out in May. Fair bit of special features on there, which is cool. But yeah, I dug Dumb and Dumber 2. I thought it was good value. Another Farrelly Brothers film from the mid-90s, mid to late 90s, probably about 96 or so. This immediately followed Dumb and Dumber, the original. Woody Harrelson, Randy Quaid, and Vanessa Angel from TV's Weird Science. But Kingpin, the comedy, Bill Murray's also in there. I've never seen the R-rated cut of Kingpin, and I watched it on this release because it's got the theatrical and the R cut. Wasn't a huge fan, to be honest. I actually think I prefer the theatrical version of Kingpin. But there's also a featurette with the Farrelly Brothers, and it's got retrospective. Well, it's them doing retrospective interviews talking about Kingpin, but then it's got archival interviews with like Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray and that. But that's actually quite interesting to listen to. And obviously, they thought it was going to be a massive hit, and then the film kind of just tanked, and they didn't really understand why. And then it kind of became a cult film on DVD, on video and DVD. But anyway, Kingpin. Then Todd Solondz's Welcome to the Old House, a title that I had been holding off purchasing because I figured it was going to come out on, like a special edition DVD, like through Criterion. Thought it was unusual, it never did. And then I held out again on this standard release because I thought it would come out on Blu-ray, even through, whomever was the rights holder, Sony. Never has. So, yeah, look, I managed to pick it up pretty cheaply secondhand, and I think it may be out of print now. I'm not 100%, but anyway, I picked it up pretty cheap, so yeah, happy to have that one in the collection. Then the last film is Jason Reitman's debut film, Thank You for Smoking, another film that I'm shocked is not on Blu-ray yet, and another film that I'd held out on buying on Blu-ray, but when you can pick it up for $2 on DVD, why not? This will definitely fill that void until it's got a release on Blu-ray. Odd, considering it was so critically well reviewed, and did pretty decent box office from memory. You might know Jason Reitman for having directed Juno, also Up in the Air, Young Adult, my favourite of his, Young Adult, but Thank You for Smoking. And, okay, so the very last item we've got is a record, and that is, I don't know how this is going to turn up, but it is Mondo Records' pressing of Scanners, the Howard Shore soundtrack to David Cronenberg's classic film Scanners, and it's actually a double LP, or I think it's a single 12-inch, 180-gram 12-inch LP, but on the B-side of the LP is the soundtrack to The Brood, Really cool art too. I'm very, very happy with that. So that is the March collection update. Thank you so much for watching. You'll hear me again in April showing you what I've got, which I think I say this every month, but I think it's actually going to be substantially less stuff. But we'll wait and see. So thanks again for watching, and see you in April.